everyone, I'm Sam. I'm from NATP, and I am joined today by one of our outstanding instructors, Jared. Jared is teaching an upcoming webinar all about how to perform an effective, but most importantly, efficient client interview, because, time and everything. This webinar will take place June 9th and 10th, but if you can't make either of those, you can also watch it on demand at a later date and time. Jared, thanks so much for being here for me today. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
You're very welcome. Thank you for the kind words. I am from Ohio. I own and operate Fuscarbon Accounting. We have two offices. We're actually in the process of adding our second one in Delaware, and we have one in Gallion. We do a little bit of everything in our firm as far as full service, accounting, bookkeeping, tax entity selection, obviously tax returns, that kind of thing. We specialize on our area as far as our demographic, as far as being ethical and accurate and efficient.
So without giving too much away, that will be covered in your webinar, I thought it might be fun to do, a few situations where a tax pro might encounter some difficulties, perhaps when interviewing a client for the first time. What about if you have a client you've prepared returns for before in the past, but they have had a major life change, like maybe they adopted a baby or they got married, bought a house? I guess what would be your best advice going forward with someone who has a big life-changing event?
Yeah, and life-changing events could be positive or negative, obviously.
Right.
I think depending on what type of change it is going to be important to, number one, recognize it. If they're having a kid, if you are close enough with the client, tell them what they're in for,
Yeah.
and congratulate them and also forewarn them. But also, I mean, in the realm of taxation, try always bringing it back to that. Well, let me explain to you how this will affect you. Let's look at this. And I always try to bring it back to, you've got a teammate here in me. I want to make sure that you understand no matter what the life change is, I'm here for you, whether it's positive or negative, recognizing that, but also wanting to bring it back to how's this going to affect your tax return? Because let's face it, our clients a lot of times go out and do some crazy stuff that they don't even want to talk to us about. Oh, by the way, I pulled $100,000 out of my retirement because I'm starting a new business. You didn't even think to consult me? No? Okay. So I think the point of those little things add to big things for me. When I can become a teammate, I can become an asset to my client. They're more inclined to actually communicate with me and talk to me about these things that are coming up. What
if you're in the middle of an interview and you get the sense that a client isn't being so truthful or forthcoming in regards to their information or their return? How would you handle that?
It happens pretty regularly. Once again, it comes back to, relying on your tools. And if you have to ask relevant questions that would cover you in due diligence, as far as for example, if you got a Schedule C client that's got an even number of income, your job is to be ethical and accurate as a tax professional.
I'm curious if you think that, any of the fallout of everything, people working from home more, social distancing recommendations, has that had any impact on client interviews?
Absolutely. It's been huge, and we've been trying to be as dynamic as possible in this office. Okay. So we had to transition a little bit on how our best practices were going to look. Maybe we had to prioritize the time that we did spend, whether it's on the phone. And I know that in leading up to this, you asked me if we did any virtual stuff like we're doing now. Absolutely not. And the reason for that, unless we had a weird scenario, we didn't do any of that because of just the time it takes for most of the time for our clients to understand how this works. Right. Is a hurdle in itself. So a phone call was just about as easy. Now, is it the best case scenario for us? Absolutely not, because I like sitting across from somebody, reading their body language when I ask a very pointed question sometimes that maybe they're uncomfortable, and maybe I can feel like there's more to the story. You know what I mean? Yep. You don't get that when you're on the phone, but at least I still use the same protocols that I normally do, as far as went through the same process interviewing them, but I miss the dynamics of having them across my desk. So it greatly affected us.
So as a reminder for everyone watching this, Jared is hosting a webinar on June 9th and 10th called Performing Effective Client Interviews. And it'll explain a lot of what we just talked about, and even more when it comes to having a chat with your clients, being efficient, but also being effective. So thanks again so much, Jared, for being here. I really appreciate your time, and I hope the rest of this crazy extended tax season goes well.
Yes, thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks, you too. Bye-bye.